This is a second and third stimulus check update. The bipartisan group Problem Solvers Caucus saying they're making progress so far with stimulus negotiations. I'll play the clip of what they said. Some Republican senators are saying they're feeling left out of the stimulus negotiations. Bernie Sanders responds and threatens, saying that he will pass the stimulus package without Republican support if he has to. I'll play the clip of that. Then we'll go over President Biden's Social Security reform and how he's going to increase the monthly pay for Social Security beneficiaries. I hope you're having a great day so far. Quick reminder, I'm giving out $200 checks to my subscribers, and I'll have details to that down in the description below. So President Biden signed an executive order requiring masks for travelers. This is for interstate traveling with planes, trains. Let me know what you think about this down in the comments below. Should masks be required all the time just for traveling? Should it be a national law? Let me know what you think about that down in the comments below. So President Biden is claiming that the $1.9 trillion stimulus package is going to cut the child poverty rate in half. So here are the numbers supporting that. So basically the poverty rate spiked 2.4% between June and November, bringing it to 11.7%. They're saying this is the highest it's ever been since they started measuring this in the 1960s. And they're saying that with President Biden's relief plan, which includes $1,400 stimulus checks, expanded tax breaks, so that's going to be the $250 per month to $300 per month child tax credit, $400 per week unemployment enhanced benefits, and then the increased 15 to 20% with food stamp expansion, that those policies are going to help the child poverty rate as well as the national poverty rate, saying that it could decrease the poverty rate by 3.6%, or 3.6 points, bringing it down to 9%, which would lift nearly 12 million Americans out of poverty. And they're saying that the rise in poverty since June is larger for children than it is for adults or the elderly. They are paying the bigger price. Let me know what you think about this down in the comments below. Many Republican senators are criticizing the stimulus package, but also criticizing the lack of outreach. So many Republican senators are saying that they're turned off by President Biden's approach, and the opposition to the stimulus relief package intensifies and is increasing. So Republican Senator Rob Portman said, "I have not personally heard from the White House, and I'm disappointed in that. Not about me, but about, it's one thing to talk about outreach, it's another thing to do it," saying that it's much more stressful around here if you try to get the bipartisan at the start, so it's a foundation of trust. Basically saying that there is a loss of trust because the Democrats just released this $1.9 trillion stimulus package without Republican input or support or outreach from the beginning. And they're saying that that already caused a bunch of mistrust. Also, Republican Senator Roy Blunt said, "I suspect the whole package is a non-starter, but it's got plenty of starters in it, and a lot of them are things that we proposed in terms of more assistance to states," referring to vaccine distribution. So they're criticizing the outreach as well as what is in the stimulus package. Today, on Sunday, there is going to be a bipartisan call among senators. So there's going to be 8 Republican senators, 8 Democrat senators on the phone with the new National Economic Advisor, Brian Dees, and hopefully some good could come out of that. But there's also the Problem Solvers Caucus, which is another bipartisan group having negotiations among themselves. Here's a clip from that interview. It's one Republican, one Democrat talking about the progress that they've made so far. Here's that clip.
Joining us right now to talk about everything we've seen and what we expect to come is New Jersey Representative Josh Gottheimer, also New York Representative Tom Reed. They are the co-chairs of the bipartisan Problem Solvers Caucus. And gentlemen, what we've heard this week have been messages of unity coming from President Biden, and I'm sure that's music to both of your ears. Let's talk a little bit about what we've seen, though. And Congressman Reed, I'll start with you since you're the Republican at the table. What do you think of the early executive orders that we've seen, of the early request for COVID-19 funding?
Well, obviously I'm concerned about some of these executive orders and some of the action they're taking, and I disagree with them, like the energy leasing proposal in particular. I think we should be developing our energy resources, not cutting them off for energy security and economic reasons. But that being said, I've always said when President Obama was in office, when President Trump was in office, executive orders can be done by executive orders, but they can be undone by executive orders. And the better policy is to get policy that's bipartisan, that's supported, and that's the long-term legacy effect that we need to do. And that's why people like us in the Problem Solvers Caucus can come together, find common ground, And that's where we're going to have to keep going forward. And one of the areas of common ground should be COVID. Getting it in the history books as soon as possible. That helps all Americans. And that's what we should be focusing on, in my opinion, right now to find common ground.
Okay, well, let's talk about that. COVID first, Congressman Gottheimer. $1.9 trillion. Is that something that you can get both sides of your caucus lined up and say, OK, this is a bill we need to pass? Or are there sticking points in that you don't think that the problem solvers would be behind?
Well, and good morning. We're still getting all the details of that package. What is clear is that the work we did at the end of the year and the package that Tom and I and the Problem Solvers Caucus, along with a bipartisan group of senators, worked on was to get emergency relief out as quickly as possible, which we did, and to get us through the first quarter. The challenge is March will come fast, so we have to get to work on making sure that we can keep getting out resources, as Tom just said, to fight COVID, to beat COVID, get those vaccines out, to help our families through a very tough time with food relief, which I know the president's working on today, but also more resources for unemployment, which will roll off in March, that extra unemployment dollars. And of course, state and local resources, which is something we didn't get in the last package, and a lot of our municipalities are hurting. But the bottom line is, and some of this was done through executive action already, we've got to get the help to beat the vaccine, get those resources out there. We're not going fast enough. The virus continues to ravage the country. We know we've lost 400,000 people, and unfortunately, it's speeding up, not slowing down. So we've got to get ahead of it. And I think that's what's going to be key in whatever package we put out, to make sure we have the resources to do that and to help us and our small businesses and families get through these rough months ahead.
Congressman Reed, let's just focus on the COVID-19 package. Obviously, things are still firming up, but we know where the initial markers have been laid down, and you can probably pretty easily tell what the third rails are in that. One of them would have to be the $350 billion for state and municipalities. Another would be the $15 minimum wage. What do the Republicans in your caucus have to say about those issues? Is that something that you think you can find bipartisan support on, or will they continue to be the sticking points they have to this point?
Well, I think we have to first take a deep breath on the $900 billion that we did on the stimulus package that Josh and I and the Problem Solvers Caucus, a gang of 8 in the Senate, worked on and got delivered to the American people. So we got to see where that money goes. And then at that point in time, then we can have a healthy conversation about some of the remaining issues. And state and local aid is obviously going to be part of that conversation. Liability reform is also going to be part of that conversation because the lawsuits are now starting to pile up. And anybody who thinks that lawsuit and liability reform is going to go away and needs to be addressed is living in a fairyland because those liability concerns are real. People are losing their defense coverage under their liability insurance policies. And so we're going to have to deal with state and local and liability coverage here in short order. And so I think there's an opportunity to do a package there. But when you're talking about $1.9 trillion, right immediately on top of $900 billion that hasn't even gone out of the Treasury's offices yet, it literally has just been approved and is being distributed as we speak, I think it's a little premature to start talking about another $1.9 trillion in total until we actually see how this money of $900 billion impacts the economy and where we stand as the vaccine that we need to come together on today gets rolled out and solves this issue of COVID-19 herd immunity that we all need to get to as soon as possible.
So far, it seems like it's the same storyline as we've seen over the past 8 months. The Democrats want to do more immediately, while the Republicans want to hold back and saying that we just spent a lot of money. Let's see how that plays out. President Biden wants to still take this bipartisan route and have the theme of unity among Republicans and Democrats, but Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren are warning the majority and saying that they will use their majority in a very aggressive way if the GOP tries to block the stimulus. Basically saying, Elizabeth Warren saying that they want to deliver for America and they don't care about having bipartisan support. They just want to pass this through. So Bernie Sanders said that we cannot reach out to Republicans indefinitely. If they choose not to come on board to help the American people now, we have the majority, we should use that majority. Basically saying that if the Republicans don't want to have any support or input or be a part of the stimulus package, the Democrats are just going to pass it without them. Here is what Bernie Sanders says. Bernie Sanders has become probably one of the most powerful Democrats just within the last few days, being the Senate chair. Here's a clip of what he says.
Do you think there is some sort of bipartisan work that can be done in the Senate, or are you expecting a sort of McConnell-inspired gridlock?
Look, I think we should do our best to reach out to Republicans who represent communities that are suffering terribly in terms of unemployment, lack of health care, and other very serious problems. But I don't think our reaching out should go on indefinitely. This country today is hurting, and people are hurting really, really badly. We're looking at people who cannot feed their kids, literally, who are worried about being evicted, can't afford to go to the doctor, even when they are sick. We have got to move and move quickly. So I think we should reach out to Republicans. If they choose not to come on board, which I suspect will probably be the case, we have the majority. We should use that majority in a very aggressive way. Now, I'm going to be chairman of the Budget Committee, which handles what we call reconciliation. And that is a Senate process by which you can pass not all kinds of legislation, but a whole lot of very important legislation with a majority vote, not 60 votes. And it is my view we should make sure that we address the needs of the American people in that reconciliation bill. And if we pass it with 51 votes, we'll pass it with 51 votes.
Let me know what you think about this clip down in the comments below. Should Bernie Sanders and the Democrats just push this stimulus package through as soon as possible without Republican support? Or should they try to work together, have bipartisan support, have unity, have Republicans and Democrats work together? Let me know your thoughts on that down in the comments below. So President Biden made a lot of promises on his campaign to become president, one of them being a promise to reform Social Security. One of the biggest questions I get on my videos is what's going on with that $200 per month increase for Social Security. So here are some details regarding that. So this is for SSI, SSDI, Railroad, basically that whole group of anyone who receives any money from Social Security. Basically, under his plan, eligible workers would get a guaranteed minimum benefit equal to at least 125% of the federal poverty level. People who have received benefits for at least 20 years would get a 5% bump. Widows and widowers would receive about 20% more per month. So President Biden also proposes changing the measurement for the annual cost of living increases to the Consumer Price Index for the elderly, or the CPIE, which could more closely track the expenses retirees face, saying that to pay, now you may be wondering, how is he going to pay for this type of stuff? To pay for higher benefits, Biden would apply Social Security payroll taxes to those making $400,000 and up, basically taxing the rich. In 2021, workers generally pay 6.2% Social Security tax on any wages up to $142,800, saying that anyone who makes more than that will pay higher tax than 6.2% Social Security tax to fund the program. Now, the big question here, Chuck Schumer, Elizabeth Warren, and Ron Wyden unveiled their plan to increase benefits by $200 per month for all Social Security beneficiaries, giving more than 60 million Americans an additional $4,000 over 2 years. So that was this plan. This was introduced March 21st of 2020. Then President Biden included this on his website. It's still there, the increase of monthly Social Security checks by $200 per month as proposed by Wyden and colleagues. So this would include seniors and disabilities, so SSI, SSDI. Now this increase, we haven't seen it in the stimulus package, and they haven't included it, or he hasn't mentioned it at all. So I keep getting that question. We're getting details on the plan and how it could increase, where the money would come from, but he still hasn't laid out that plan yet. Also, with student loan forgiveness, the student loans could be forgiven up to $50,000. So Senator Chuck Schumer and Elizabeth Warren are saying President Biden should increase or should cancel $50,000 in student loan debt, and how it could affect older citizens as well. They both said that we are calling on President Biden and Vice President Harris to immediately cancel up to $50,000 in federal student loan debt. The U.S. Department of Education holds that debt and can cancel it too. This is exactly what Joe Biden and Kamala Harris should do should direct their education secretary to do. So the big key thing here is that the U.S. Department of Education holds that debt and can cancel it. So this wouldn't require any new money. Basically, they're saying that any debt that there is, they would just make it disappear, forgive it, forget about it. And then this could help a lot of other people too, including the older population, because they're saying there's around $1.5 trillion in federal student loan debt, and around 6.3 million borrowers are between the age 50 to 64. So this would help the older population as well, not just the people who are just out of college with six-figure student loan debt. So this is also on President Biden's website to forgive a minimum of $10,000 per person. This plan was also not included in this $1.9 trillion stimulus package. So President Biden is saying at least $10,000. Chuck Schumer and Warren are saying that it needs to be a minimum of $50,000, but still we haven't heard anything from President Biden on these things. Let me get to your questions now that you asked me in the comments. So Sean Anderson asks, how do I get the first check? So if you didn't receive the first stimulus check, first make sure to see that you are not a dependent or that you weren't claimed as a dependent. If you didn't, then you would have to do the rebate recovery, claim your rebate recovery credit, file taxes, and you just get your stimulus checks or any amount that you weren't owed through that process. Then also, I got a question from Nancy McRowe saying, how exactly is Biden in jeopardy of impeachment in 3 days of office? So Republican Representative Marjorie Greene introduced articles of impeachment on President Biden just 3 days after entering office. Basically, what I think this is more of like a tit for tat type of game. The Republicans may be upset that the Democrats are trying to impeach Trump, so they want to do the same thing to Joe Biden. In my opinion, this doesn't really help out the country. It's more about more for like helping out the party and more political games. James Butts asks, what good would the impeaching Trump do at this time? Same thing as impeaching President Biden. I don't think it really helps out the country. I think our tax dollars could be used for other things, like to help out with child hunger in our country, all the evictions, veterans, our older community on Social Security, senior citizens. I'd rather our tax dollars be used for that. Again, I think impeaching Trump is more about serving the party as opposed to the country. This will just prevent Trump from running in the future. Also, got another question. Daniel Robinson asks, how do I get the $250 or $300 a month? I have a 2-year-old and I'm not working. So that $250 to $300 per month is a tax credit that you normally would get at the end of the year, either $3,000 or $3,600 under President Biden's plan. So that hasn't been rolled out yet, but I'm assuming you probably wouldn't do anything. They would just give you that money in the account. I'm assuming maybe the same way they give out the stimulus checks. We don't have enough info on how and when that will be delivered, but as soon as I find out, I'll definitely let you know. Got a few more questions here. If you want me to answer your question, just type the word question down in the comments below so I could search for it and answer it. Nancy Brandon asks, one of my sons is 18. Will he get a $600 check? I have 2 kids and never seen $1,200 or $600 checks. Great question. So if your son is 18, you won't get any money for him being a dependent. But regarding the $600 check, if you claimed your son or 2 kids as a dependent, they will not receive that $600 check. With the third stimulus check, supposedly with the $1,400, adult dependents will receive that $1,400 check moving forward. Then another question here. Linda Long asks, still waiting on my answer about $600. I received my other stimulus checks accordingly from SSI deposit info. What's up with info about that? I did change banks as I did have new info. So if you change banks from your $1,200 stimulus check, the first one, to the second one, that's probably causing a lot of problems because there's no way to fix that bank account information. So it probably went to your bank account to your old bank account that was maybe closed, went back to the IRS, then the IRS tried to send a paper check for whatever address they have on file. If that didn't work, then you're going to have to claim it as a rebate recovery credit starting February 12th. That is all the stimulus news I have for you today. To brighten your day a bit, here is my daughter Bella's tip of the day.
Hi guys, I'm going to give you the 5 positive tips to make you start your day and make you be positive and grateful as much as you can. So first, stay happy, stay strong, and have good vibes, and do great to others when they do great to you. And also, you know this one, be nice to others when you be nice to them. Bye.
And if you want to keep the positive vibes going and feel in a better mood, take a break from the negative news and click this video over here. It's How to Believe in Yourself and Become the Happiest Person You Know by Gabby Bernstein. So click this video over here and I'll see you in the next video. Take care, be safe. Thank you for watching.